the in and the out are kind of coming together even on Sunday mornings, because we've been talking about the distressed and dejected.
Right.
And, that's what we want for our church. Welcome to the D3 Discipleship Podcast, a podcast about the language and tools that help to create a culture of intentional discipleship in your church. We are excited that you're joining us today and hope that you enjoy what you hear.
Well, hey everyone, welcome back to the D3 Discipleship Podcast, and alongside me is my co-host, Katie Ketzner.
Good morning, everybody.
Yes, it is a good morning.
It is now.
It's a little chilly, as always. Seems to be the vibe right now.
I don't love it.
Thus, winter.
I was really tired this morning.
Yeah.
Really tired.
Mm-hmm.
Needed a caffeine shot or something.
Yeah.
So Jamie gave me this drink. It's XS from Amway. She does that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She gave me one, and I'm feeling it. I'm loving it.
Do you have like the jitters now?
Not the jitters.
Oh, okay.
But it's got like natural stuff. I was like, is there caffeine? She's like, yeah, there's caffeine. But there's also like B6 and B12. And she said that's natural.
Is there like 300% of your daily B12 or something?
I don't know.
Oh.
Yep. B12 is 4,900%. What is that going to do to me?
There you go. Energy drink at its finest. Yep. No sugar, but.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to watch that.
Is that healthy for me?
I don't know. I hope.
Okay. I don't know, but it feels good.
Hey, this afternoon, you're going to be all over the place. You're going to be bouncing off the walls.
And I doubt that.
Yeah.
I'm probably still going to be on the couch
typing away like,
I don't think so.
You're going to be. Well, all that to say, the purpose of this podcast is to coach and equip you to lead your best in discipleship and also review your favorite energy drinks. No, but today we are going to be walking through the up in and out triangle, Katie. So we've had some great interviews the past couple of weeks. But we are going back to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. We mentioned the reality of the out, right? And like how hard it is to get that going and just all the logistics that are in place there, the reality of that, setting the reality for some people. Yeah. But in that conversation, we mentioned that the up and out triangle could be used to kind of lead into that conversation with your group. And a couple of people have voiced, tell us more. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do today.
I'm glad we're talking about this because this feels like one that, for some reason, I mean, everyone has tools they like better than others.
Sure.
This one's, I'm not going to say it's not my favorite. I just don't understand it enough. Like I do to a certain point, but the depth of understanding is not there, I don't think.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, maybe today your mind will be blown.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right.
So before we started the podcast, I was telling Ray about how, this one was a little harder for me to understand. Not kind of. And he summed it up pretty simply. He said it's all about relationships.
Yeah.
So can you explain that to our listeners?
Yeah. So, okay, first off, let's back up to the shape itself, right? So it's a triangle, and then we call it the up in and out triangle. And so the concept there is that it's based on kind of three relationships that we have. And so first off, the up is our relationship with God and our connection with him. So that should be kind of through abiding and different things like that. And then we have the in, which is our relationship with other believers. And so that's kind of that iron sharpens iron kind of conversation. That's D group. That's Sunday mornings, like the fellowship of the believers, right? So one of the verses we use there is in Hebrews where it says, don't neglect the fellowship of the believers. And so from there, that's kind of the in. And then the out is our relationship with the world. And so how we evangelize, how we connect with non-believers. And the thing is, like, there should be a balance in that. And so a lot of people love the right side of the triangle. So they love the up. They love that relationship with the Lord. They love that relationship with other believers. Yeah. But then we kind of sometimes struggle on that other side of, like, how do we relate to the world? And we can get in, like, not to step on any toes, but like we can get into this little Christian bubble and never go out into the world or have this heart to share. And so the healthy balanced triangle is what we want.
Yeah.
Equilateral, they would call it. Yeah.
I don't know. This could be a rabbit trail that I just popped into my head. Like
we never do that on the podcast.
Never. My brain just always thinks in straight lines. You were talking about the Christian bubble.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about even in church, like we like our church relationships, Sunday morning relationships,
For
but
sure.
I feel like we at New City are kind of getting into this place where even that, like the in is up, the in and the out are kind of coming together even on Sunday mornings, because
Yeah.
we've been talking about the distressed and dejected,
Right.
and that's what we want for our church is
Mhm.
like our church is to be a hospital for the hurting. Like
Yep.
those are the people who need it most. And
Right.
we are having people show up on Sunday mornings
Mhm.
and it's like we don't know what to do with them,
Yeah.
because it's different from the people who were used to showing up on Sunday mornings.
For
Sunday
sure.
mornings are like just the believers,
Yeah.
not necessarily, but
But it also brings about different lobby conversations, different things they're going through, like tears after the service, like
Yeah.
all of those different things, where we also, which is kind of fun, get to use our discipling tools. Like
Yeah.
those that are deployed can have a conversation of like a learning circle there in the moment, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I see tears. What's going on? And begin to have a conversation with that person.
a lot of identity stuff as well.
Yeah, yeah. We have just in the past couple of weeks, the Lord's been doing something cool of like just single men who are also recently divorced that have been coming to our campus, and so like 5 of them, like an odd just
wow.
reality, right? And so we've kind of adjusted that. We've gotten like a men's ministry going in different things, but like just having those conversations of like loneliness and where they find themselves and different things is not something that we've ever really experienced. So the out, right? Like the world is coming in our doors going, I'm desiring community. I'm desiring fellowship. I'm desiring what you guys have. And that's just been really cool to see.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
I think that it makes this tool even more important, because
Yeah.
it's not just us stepping out into the world and like, how do we handle that? Like it's happening in our homes,
Yeah.
like so
Yeah.
to speak,
No, totally.
with our
Yeah.
church. So like,
Absolutely.
we gotta figure this stuff out.
Yeah. And, and the thing is, like, when you look at those two relationships of like the in and other believers and you look at the out, the in is like those conversations with other believers, you're encouraging one another, but also like you're talking discipleship language sometimes and you're doing city groups and like all those fun things. And then like the out is not that. Like it's just, it's just caring for people really. And, so that's an interesting dynamic there too. But again, like we talked about, the triangle fuels those things, right? So that relationship with the Lord is super important, because then you're able to speak into the out or speak into those people, but also you're able to speak into other believers. And so again, that's why it's at the top of the triangle. So, yeah.
Okay. So we're talking about how they fuel each other.
Yes.
Each part of the triangle.
Mhm.
So maybe this is kind of where my confusion with the triangle comes.
All right.
During starting point, we kind of talk about the up in and out.
Yep.
And starting point is like for the new members or attendees at our church who want to know more about
Exactly.
us.
Yes.
And obviously this is important to us as New Cityans. So we talk about that.
Ooh, I like that. New Cityans.
Thanks.
Well placed.
And so Matt has talked about like, okay, what does a church look like if you have a really great out, a really great in, but not a good up? Or
Yeah.
what does it look like if you're missing part of the triangle?
Sure.
And maybe it's just my slow brain processing, but that stumps me every time, because people are like whipping off answers and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know what it looks like. Like obviously I can tell, like if you don't have that relationship with God,
Mm-hmm.
you're not getting fueled. So there's no
Right.
way that you can even like, you can pretend to be, this Christian-y person with other Christians,
Right.
but if you're not really truly being fueled,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be productive. It's not going to be fruitful.
Exactly right.
So like I can get that one, but it's like
Yeah.
how they all mix together
Yeah.
just makes my brain hurt.
So with the in, right? So that would be fueled by your up. So your relationship with the Lord. And then the way that it's fueled by the out is that you and other believers are building one another up, encouraging one another to then go out. In other words, we're not created to do it in isolation, right? Like we're not created to go into the world by ourselves.
Good, because I couldn't.
Yeah, right. I mean, absolutely. So like that's the piece there. So like we're encouraging, we're building up, but also there's that piece of like from the out coming back to the in, like getting to share and celebrate what has happened in the out with the in, like the other believers, right? So there's this opportunity to say, okay, I'm fueled by the Lord. I'm excited about that. And now I'm going out to share that. But then you get to come back and celebrate that with other believers. So that's how the in is kind of fueled. And then the out is fueled by, hey, if you're not in relationship with the Lord, number one, you're not going to have any desire to go out and share the things of Jesus. Like if I have no relationship with Jesus, I'm not going to share the things of Jesus, right? Yeah. So that's super important. But I also need the support of those other believers to go and do the out. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's still a lot of words there, so I still need to like chew on.
Yeah, there's a lot of up in and out. Yeah, for sure. But I think it's, a great conversation in our D groups of like, hey, we're working on all three of these areas. Like we're going to work on the up through our abiding. We're going to work on the in our relationship with one another by the transformation piece and the tools. And then the out is the one that we as a church, like New City and as the Big C Church have struggled with, right? And going and sharing Jesus and who he is. And so from there, like New City, we've taken the whole commitment of, this whole month we're talking about evangelism and our E3 thing, or our E3 series. And then from there, E3 is actually going to be a little peek behind the curtain. E3 is going to be inserted into discipleship a little bit of like just training for folks, kind of a shortened version of that for like a video version that you could watch before you go and do your out, just so people feel comfortable in sharing the gospel and salvation and all of those fun things. And so, but what we're doing is we're saying, okay, as a group, right, we're going to commit to the up, we're going to commit to the in, but we're not going to forget the out. And so we're going to do the out. So that's where we kind of did with our group is we began that conversation and using this tool. And then we said, okay, as a group, we're going to go take care of this out. We're going to go do something. Right. So is that a lot?
How could you tell?
Wish I had that on video. No.
Okay, so before, we had a lot of conversation before.
We do. We're setting things up and just chatting and doing all the things. Yeah.
So again, when I was talking about how this wasn't necessarily my most visited.
It's not your favorite tool. You could say it. It's okay.
I was trying to be.
It's okay.
More
I'm trying to convince you today that it is your favorite tool.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot more convincing. Huh? Okay. Well, anyway.
But you were talking about how you use this tool to figure out people's calendars.
Yeah. So kind of we can use this tool to kind of weigh against their calendars, right? So what we have them do is kind of evaluate, like in your week, whether that be upcoming or past week, like where were you intentional with your up, like your relationship with the Lord? So hopefully they're having an abide time. That would be a way to check that off. And then the in, like that's a pretty easy one because they're sitting in D group. So that's an in, but then also like hopefully they're attending on Sundays somewhere. We have people in some of our groups that don't go to New City. So it's like a check of like, are you doing that? Or you have a relationship with others? But then there's also that piece of like, in the context of the fellowship and the in with one another, are they serving in that context? Are they helping in any other way? Are they connecting with other believers in any way? And so that kind of gives us an opportunity to kind of weigh that a little bit.
Serving as part of the in?
Well, I mean, like their relationship with other believers, right? Oh. So there's maybe a couple different ways they could build that relationship with others. One would be serving alongside others. Gotcha. Right. And then the out would be like, are they doing anything outside of the context of the church, or have they again fallen into that Christian bubble? So like, do you have a third place that you go and you're like, I'm intentional here and trying to bring Jesus there and have conversations and different things. So you can kind of look at your calendar and go, wow, yeah, I don't do that, whatever it be, the up, the in, or the out.
Oh, I'm still not still working, but there was a period where I wasn't even doing the in a lot. Like I do Sunday mornings, right. But it got to a point where I was like, well, for one, I knew I needed to start back up in discipleship, get another group going. But it was like, even to do that, it's like, Katie, you got to get out of your house to meet people.
Yeah. Well, and the odd, odd, I guess is the right word. Like coming out of COVID 2020, like it's been harder, right? It's just harder to connect with people. I think some people enjoyed the isolation.
I didn't though.
And the quiet. Yeah. Well, I mean, and some people didn't, right? But I think it is an oddity to like connecting with believers again. Is just, here we are again, 3 years out. We're just now starting to begin to connect again.
Yeah. And it's harder because, not harder, I don't know if that's the correct word, but I feel like we have an influx of new people.
Yeah.
And like for me as an introvert, that makes it a little more difficult.
That's your favorite world.
Because it's like, number one, I'm getting out of my house, out of my comfort.
Yep.
But two, like I'm going to a place, and it's different when you're already used to these like women's events.
Sure.
Like you're used to specific women that you walked alongside forever.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you're coming into a new group and 3/4 of them you don't know or they're new, it's hard for me and introverts to be like, yay.
I appreciate your honesty. It's hard for me. Thank you. Good job. Good job.
But I'm doing better, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm going to lead a city group. So
there you go.
Baby steps.
You're rocking.
Listen, here's an encouragement to everybody who is like me and you want to do it. Your heart's in the right place, but you just need a little more encouragement and maybe a little more time.
Yeah.
So just take the next step. Just keep moving.
That's right. Keep doing it.
I'm just trying to encourage myself, honestly.
Well, it'll encourage somebody else too, because as we've learned, you're not the only one going through whatever you're going through, right? So a fun story that came out of our conversation about this tool in our group was that one of the guys in our group actually started a Bible study at his work. So it was right?
How?
Very cool. So they're doing it at lunch. So he has a couple ladies, and then he has a couple guys who, like, they've kind of been flaky. Like, not kind of. They've been flaky. But, like, he started a Bible study. And, like, how cool is that?
Number one, I have questions.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Like, what kind of place does this person work?
So it is a large pharmaceutical manufacturing company.
Dang. Like, so they're in, like, an office building?
Yeah.
How does that start? Like, because...
They all do lunch at the same time. And so they were having a conversation of like, hey, you know what we should do? Like there was 3 of them that are believers, and then there's 3 or 4 of them that are not.
Okay.
And the 3 that were believers were like, we should just like start walking through John together, and if these guys want to join us, they can.
And they did?
They did. They're doing it. Yeah. They've
See,
done
that's
like
the scariest part.
3 weeks now. Oh,
because
I'm like super proud. It's awesome. Yeah.
Number one, and it could just be me. I don't think it's not just me. I know it's not just me. I can be confident in that statement. Yeah. But like just talking about it out loud in a group of non-believers, that's difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we can go out to eat and like we'll pray before the meal, and like if my friend is praying really loud, I'm like, oh my gosh, like what are they thinking? And I could be a bad person for that, and that could be intentional on my friend's part, but it makes me very nervous about what people think because I'm a people pleaser.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, so the fact that these people are hearing this, not being scared, and they're like, yeah, sure, we'll join. That's crazy cool.
I will say they have great, like this is discipling language at its finest. Like they have great relational equity with the people they work with. Huh. And so it was like they knew and have been around each other long enough that they could have this real conversation of like, hey, the 3 of us really love Jesus. We'd love for you to consider learning more about him. We're going to start through the book of John. Join us.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And I mean, one of them was like super committed to it and has already flaked out, like is not coming, which is fine. But like they're all kind of in the same space even when they're doing it. But the 3 of them are together and doing it. It's really cool.
That
really
is
cool.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Hashtag goals.
But yeah, but that, I mean, it was like he was planning on starting that right when we did this tool. And then the conversation came up of like, well, I think my out needs to be more balanced. I'm gonna go through with this thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Cool stuff. Whew. Cool stuff.
Okay, so we've talked about what the up, in, and out is.
Yes.
We've talked about the different parts, and when do you, or you're saying you're going through it now. So do you save that tool for maybe the end of phase 2 when you're about to go into your out? Or do you use it at the beginning when you're still talking about abiding?
So I was about to ask, are you calling me out for waiting to do it later in the phase 2?
Why would I call you out? Do we
No,
have
I'm just kidding.
now I'm getting nervous. Is there a...
No, there's no right or wrong time. I think when you are ready to start, like, I think that's kind of what we want to talk about today, even, like, is whenever you're ready to start having that conversation about your out, this is a great opportunity to use the up, in, and out to talk about that. So
It also,
somewhere there in phase 2, it's a great season to talk
It can
to
be
that.
used for abiding too. I think it
Totally.
maybe just depends on your group and what they're struggling with the most.
Yeah. And we kind of used it, like, for example, this group we're currently in, we used it as, like, we were almost done with phase 2. Like, just a couple weeks ago, we talked about, like, we're trying to find our out, right, and complete it. And we have one person has retaught 2 tools. So, like, that's where we are.
Okay.
So in that, we had the conversation of the up, in, and out of, like, this is this tool. And then from there, we're going to go and do an out. Now, we've struggled to get that out.
I was going to say, is there any update on your out?
There is not.
This is real life, people.
We had a Super Bowl in there, so we
weeks later, and there's still no
slowed down.
movement.
Yeah. We had a Super Bowl and an AFC championship and all those things. So we're trying to get there, but and then terrible weather. I can give you all more excuses if you need them. But yeah, so that's when we implemented it. I think you're right. Like, you could have the conversation of, like, why do we abide? Well, here's the balance of why we want to abide. We want to have, these 3 relationships. We want them to be in solid places. And then even you could begin to talk about your out then, like, hey, we want you to think forward about what we're going to do as an out. Like, we're going to do a group out, and so, yeah, there you go. That's an awesome place to, so wherever you would like, Katie, that's when you bring it into the conversation. But that was a great question.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So, next steps.
Yeah.
For you for next week. We want to hear more about your progress.
Hey,
Look, I'm starting to disciple again.
Yeah, there you go.
48 hours. Let me know your
I need
plan.
to create a plan. That's right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I hope to actually get something accomplished in the next week. So all you listeners and Katie can hold me accountable to getting that done. So I'm gonna have an update just to bring it. Yep.
He's just gonna be like, I called this person.
I've been challenged. I'm gonna do it. No, we're gonna have it set up, lined up, and have a date.
You heard it.
Yep.
Everybody heard it. I might forget.
I am at a preaching conference for 3 days next week. So
you said it.
Yeah.
You said it.
I don't know if that'll be the case. I'm sorry. I will then.
Let your yes be yes, man.
I
You
know.
can't take it back
There
now.
will have to be full repentance next Friday. Hey, actually, we won't have the podcast next Friday because I'll be gone.
Oh,
So
okay.
I have a week. to get it all in order. Yeah. So
All right. Okay.
anyway,
So then the next time you hear us,
yes,
he will most assuredly have his plan.
I will, because
Okay.
that's 2 weeks. So
Yeah,
not
that's a long time.
2 days, not 48 hours, but 2 weeks to accomplish my plan.
Yeah, your group is almost over. You
We'll
got to
get it
get
done.
your out done, or else you
We'll
can't
get it done.
deploy.
That's true. It's true. Yes. Leader fail. So.
All right. Okay, so what's next coming up on the podcast, Ray?
So we have a couple different interviews that are going to be happening. We're going to start bringing in some people who are in the midst of discipleship
I'm excited about
as
this.
like participants, more so than just leaders. Start getting some feedback of like, what'd you think about this?
I'm stoked for these conversations because
your first learning circle moment, how did that feel? Yeah.
I think that's how we learn and grow because
yes, exactly.
I don't want to say they're like children, but you learn a lot from children, like how to do things differently, how to switch your what's the word? Like how you do things. Jeez, Ray. You're no help right now. I don't know. Sometimes you just got to switch things up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, your methods.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
So it's good to get insights from people who have no idea what it should be like, how it should sound. So I want to hear
watch somebody sit down and be like, they didn't teach us any shapes. Like, whoa, something's up. Who was your leader? Let's learn all about that.
I know. We're going to learn something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good or bad.
It may be bad. Who knows? Yeah.
But I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Because I think you get a lot of information and opportunity to grow.
That's right. That's right. So that's what we got coming up in the weeks ahead. All of that to say, I think we're done.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for listening.
On the D3. Go for it.
Podcast.
Yes, there you go. All right. See you.
Bye. Thank you for joining us today. We hope that today's information was helpful and useful for your discipling journey. We would like to encourage you to subscribe, review, and share on social media. If you would like more information, check out d3pathway.com.